Peace, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of my hip hop review. This is your boy Reg in the building. The album I'm going to talk about tonight is Willie D's second studio album, I'm Going Out Like a Soldier. This was released in 1992 under Rap A Lot Records. Singles album is known for are Clean Up Man, and I want to say, hold on. I want to say You Still a Nigga was a single and stuff like that, but I could be wrong on that, to be real with you. But yeah, all I know with Clean Up Man, that was like the most successful single that came out this album and stuff like that. So, um, guest appearances you have only guest appearances on this album are Icy Hot, Klondike Kate, Rashir X, Show, um, K Reno did some background vocals as well too. Producers include Willie D, executive producer, Crazy C, dope Rap A Lot producer right there, Goldfingers, John Bido, and I'm rolling. Alright, so you guys should know who Willie D is. In case you don't know, he's an MC from Houston, Texas. Um, Originally when he was little, he was really wanting to be a boxer and stuff like that. And throughout the 80s, the early to mid 80s and stuff like that, he was working on being a boxer. And instead of like becoming like a professional boxer, he decided to get into hip hop and stuff like that. And so what ended up happening was he got discovered by Jay Prince. Everyone knows Jay Prince, founder of Rap A Lot Records, and so on and so on. Around that time, the Ghetto Boys, which was known as the GHETTO, it was a different group than the Ghetto Boys that we all used to today. And so after the failure of the first Ghetto Boys album, Making Trouble, like commercial failure, he revamped the Ghetto Boys and stuff like that. He added Willie D, Bushwick Bill, Scarface, Ready C, all that shit, you know what I'm saying? And so that classic lineup, they dropped Rippin' on the Other Level in 1989, dope classic album. I need to get my hands on the album and stuff, but that shit goes for a stupid amount of money. They dropped the remix album, The Ghetto Boys, the self-titled remix album, 1990. They dropped the We Can't Be Stopped album, which that was like a big seller and shit like that. So, and it's kind of crazy too because during that time, like I mentioned with the We Can't Be Stopped review, he felt like he wasn't really getting his due when it came to songwriting and stuff like that. So he left the Ghetto Boys after the release of We Can't Be Stopped. And so, oh, I forgot to mention, in 1989, he actually released his solo debut called Controversy. Very dope album, like that's like a southern classic by a lot of people. That shit has very controversial album, like a lot of Ghetto Boy stuff. You know, I meant to say DJ Ready Red, excuse me. They had classics like Bald Headed Hoes, I Need Some Pussy, featuring Choice. Stay tuned on that. Do It Like a Geo. Yeah, man, and so fast forward to 1992, this when this album came out and stuff like that. Alright, so, very cool album cover, just him, burning like the Capitol and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? And the song that's playing in the background is, Going Out Like a Soldier. So yeah, of course, you gotta have the lyrics. And it just has this like blank right there, because I think it was like a mistake and shit like that, but it is what it is on that part. Alright, so this album has about yeah, it doesn't even say the track listing in the back, so I gotta go by off here. This album has 16 tracks. Let's get this shit started. Track number one, Profile of a Criminal. Pretty solid track right there. You know what I'm saying? That's a nice intro. Just reintroducing who Willie D is. Nothing really to it. Track number two, I'm Going Out Like a Soldier. Fucking dope ass song. Nice beginnings track right there and stuff like that. Boom, 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 killer. I'm that motherfucking dope ass nigga. Like, come on, man. With the intro like that, like, come on, you can't go wrong. Um, with this track right here, you know, he's talking about a lot of stuff. You know, the usual Willie D, like braggadocio threats, bringing up, um, you know, the whole ghetto boy shit that happened. And one thing about Willie D, I'm just gonna be the first to say, if you expecting like complex lyricism, you're not gonna get that with Willie D. He's more of an in-your-face, angry kind of lyrical type of shit like that. If that makes sense. So yeah, that's what they have to throw out there. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna charge my laptop before it dies. Sorry about that, but yeah. All right, so yeah, so that's what I'm gonna say. But yeah, there's some very, very dope quotables and shit like that. One of my favorite lines is when he says, "I got a whole motherfucking toolbox, need Titan, fast like lightning, punch like Tyson. It's a clash of titans when I start fighting. So what's a goddamn reporter? A nigga with a foot in his ass and a tape recorder. Dissing double W-I double FIED and don't know shit about me, but you don't see me running. I'm from the ghetto, ho, so I keep coming." Yeah, man. And one thing about Willie D too was I always liked his unconventional rhyming and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like for example and shit, like he would rhyme like decade and paid and stuff like that, pulpit and not excuse me, cut peanuts. Like it's unconventional rhyming and stuff like that, which I've seen a lot of people kind of go after him about that and stuff like that because you know they're used to Scarface, which I'm a fan of Scarface too, but Willie D, man, he's just angry. I like his angry style and shit. So that's I'm coming out like a soldier. Track number three, Pastor Peyote. This song features Icy Hot, Klondike Cat, Rest of Your Exit Show. Pretty solid posse cut right there. Pretty solid posse cut and shit like that. They all did their thing. It's not really any really standout lyrics for this one in my opinion. So yeah, it's pretty solid. Next track, Die. Very dope track. Another dope track right there. Love the beat. That beat definitely has a live instrumentation feel to it, which I love. Um, Basically with this track, he's pretty much threatening like a lot of Houston rappers and stuff like that, who they think that they're universal, but at the same time they're only big in Houston. Which we've had, you've heard of that story, like with a lot of these rappers who getting big on SoundCloud or whatever and shit like that, and then they get too fucking big, and next thing you know, people are always looking out for the next thing. So I think Willie D with this song is telling motherfuckers stay humble and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I definitely love this song right here. Next track, Cleanup Man. This samples the classic track from Betty White. Betty Wright, excuse me, rest in peace to Betty Wright as she passed away a couple months ago. Um, to be quite honest with you guys, I never really cared for this track like that. I mean, like I said, it's a pretty entertaining song, but something about this track I never really cared for. But however, the video is funny as hell too. You know what I'm saying? The video is funny as hell. Um, yeah, man, this track, you know, Woody D was on his sex game with this track right here. You know that old ordeal and shit. So I felt that was pretty solid. Not really one of my favorites, but eh. Next track, You Ain't No Gangster. Um, Cool ass track. You know, he's talking about studio gangsters and stuff like that. Pretty solid track. There we have trench coats and gangster hats. Um, This song was okay. Again, not really one of my favorites. To me, it was the beat. I felt like the beat was a bit too slow and too mellow for Willie D and stuff like that. That's just my personal opinion because it's not like he can really excel in those slow beats, but with an album like I'm Going Out Like a Soldier, you would do that. You would expect like some heavy hitting shit right there. So that's one thing that kind of caught my attention with that track right there. So that one was Trench Coats and Gangsta Hats. Next track, Rodney K. Rodney King, excuse me, yeah. Probably my favorite song off this album, if you ask me, is offering like a different take on. Well, actually, no, this is not my favorite song off of that. I'm just like my second favorite. Excuse me. Yeah, it's actually talking about like a different take off the whole Rodney King LA riots controversy because you guys should know who Rodney King is. You know the man beaten by the cops and stuff like that. A lot of people kind of say that started the LA riots. It was one of the factors, but if you want to be real with it, the real thing that really started the LA riots was the murder of Latasha Harlins and stuff like that, which I've mentioned on this channel a couple times. If you guys remember the Tupac video for Keep Your Head Up, he dedicated that video to her. You know, she was a black girl that was killed by, you know, the Asian convenience store workers and stuff like that. Yeah, man, because they thought she was stealing some orange juice, but that's another story for a different. Now back to Rodney King. So the reason why Willie D was taking a stance against Rodney King was because I was reading this interview. I was reading this interview about the song and shit like that, about the song and stuff, and pretty much, you know, when Rodney King, when he made that "Can't We All Just Get Along" speech and stuff like that, you know, Willie D, you know, he was all pro Rodney King and stuff like that, and he kind of felt some type of way, as with certain others, about the whole "Can't We All Get Along" and stuff like that, because you know, I think he got like some settlement from that and shit like that, but whatever the case is, and he felt like, you know, the cops should definitely be punished, and y'all know the whole story. You know, the cops found not guilty. Y'all know the whole story with that, and so he just threatening Rodney King and stuff like that, and at the end he kills Rodney King, and it's kind of eerie too because you know, Rodney King, he actually passed away in real life. They allegedly drowned in the swimming pool, allegedly. But like I said, that's another story for a different day. Some of my favorite lines I gotta say was, "I'm down niggas for fighting back in Cali. I'm down with the niggas who's next thing. Fuck all that goddamn protesting, so don't try to pull it. Fifth War niggas fight bullets with bullets. Right between right between the eyes, so you can't keep your motherfucking Nobel Peace Prize." Like, oof. Like I said, it's very like heavy song, especially for today and stuff like that, you know, with all the protests that's going on, you know, for George Floyd, and the fact that Breonna Taylor's cops, aka killers, are still not arrested yet, but that's another story for a different day. Oh my god, but you know, a lot of people kind of took some flack with this track right here, you know what I'm saying, but you know, Willie D, he's always been outspoken, like even like in the Ghetto Boy days, he's always been so outspoken and shit like that, so it's nothing to be expected. Next track, Campaign 92, which was like a little skit, you know what I'm saying? Then we have Go Back to School, which the album takes more of like a conscious turn with this track right here because, for one, he's basically trying to tell the listeners to like go get an education and stuff, go get an education, don't be a dropout and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, it was a pretty solid track. Very love this track. The beat definitely has like a East Coast boom bap feel to it, which I've kind of noticed, but at the same time, I felt like that kind of beat was well suited, especially in compared to trench coats and gangster hats and stuff like that. So yeah, next track, "You're Still a Nigga." It always makes me laugh how, you know, back back in the 90s and stuff like that. They used to spell nigga backwards. They used to spell nigga backwards and stuff like that. You know, especially with the legendary NWA album Niggas for Life, how they spelled it backwards and stuff like that. Even the Scarface song, you know, he had nigga backwards and shit like that. So I just felt like that was kind of funny as hell. But this is actually my favorite track off this album. You're Still a Nigga. Um, it reminds me a little bit of Ice Cube's True to the Game, a little bit, because he's talking about like institutionalized racism and blacks not really knowing where their history came from and stuff like that. You know, basically just attacking house niggas, if you ask me. And so, You're Still a Nigga, You're Still a Nigga has K Reno, legendary H Town MC on the hook and stuff like that. And he pretty much goes in on the house niggas. He also throws some, believe it or not, he throws some shots at Paula Abdul and Michael Jackson too, believe it or not, because there was one line where she says like Paula Abdul has like white people surrounding her music videos and stuff like that. And mind you, around this time too, she was dating Arsenio Hall around that time and shit. So, and cause you know Paula Abdul, you know she's Jewish heritage, but her family was living in Brazil, like based in Brazil for a while and stuff. And he threw some shots at Michael Jackson and stuff like that when he said how fuck him for getting a nose job and shit like that, because y'all should know what Michael Jackson, you know, he fucked his nose up, you know, like around the early 80s, like I want to say 1980, 81. And so since then he's been had like nose surgery. Y'all know the whole story with that. Because if I talk about all that surgeries Michael took, it's going to take like a whole video and shit. So yeah, I love this fucking track right here. He has some lines like, "Follow me now, see as I get a little deeper. They think I'm a drug dealer because I wear a beeper. If it wasn't black, I talk all proper. They probably think I was a doctor." And you know, that line is so fucking heavy because, you know, back in the days when niggas used to have the beepers and shit, people would automatically think that you're a drug dealer. It reminds me of that Fresh Prince episode, the first episode from the third season. I think it was called How I Spent My Summer Vacation. I think Will, he went back to Philly and he came back, you know, he had his hair braided up and shit like that. Had a beeper, he had a beeper and stuff, and Uncle Phil on there was like saying how all these drug dealers, like, what the fuck, get the beeper for, like, because you gotta remember, like, the full fish out of water has to have knots and stuff like that. So I felt like that was a very unique episode. I gotta be real. The ending of the episode had me a little bent. I have a little mixed feelings on the ending, but that's not, like I said, you have to watch the episode to see what I'm talking about and shit like that. But yeah, man, this is Willie D. You're Still a Nigga. Very very dope track right here. Track number 12, Little Hooker. Okay, so I was a little confused about this track, but okay, so here's the story. So if you guys know your rap a lot history, you will be aware of an MC called a female MC called Choice. So Choice, you know, she was a female MC that Willie D wrote for and stuff like that, and pretty much she and Willie D had like a little falling out because she did a song called The Big Payback, and she was basically dissing like that top gangster rappers or West Coast rappers around that time, you know, like the Ghetto Boys, of course, Ice Cube, NWA, and Too Short, you know what I'm saying, among other people. And pretty much, according to Willie D, um, her mom's, Choice's mom, pretty much did not like the style of rap that she was doing, that naughty, filthy rap. Mind you, this was way before Lil Kim, this was way before Foxy, and this was damn sure well before Wet Ass Pussy. So, this is okay. So pretty much, he wrote this track called Little Hooker. He wrote this track called Little Hooker and stuff like that. And yeah, he pretty much goes in on her. And a little trivia too. the choice that was on Willie D's Controversy album was a different choice and stuff like that. So that's what I was confused about because I was like, yo, you dissing her, but she was still on the Controversy album and shit like that. And this is a lesson, like never diss the nigga that writes your rhymes and shit like that. Never diss the nigga that writes your rhymes. So Little Hooker was a very heavy track and stuff like that. I love the line when he said, "Suck James' dick for a record contract and drop some shit called payback. Whether the shit was whack, I got proof. It's still sitting in the warehouse. True." There's other line when he says, "Oh, what a drag. Clap the ass, and ask your man. Transvestite, you can't fight. You got your ass whipped in the club one night, but fuck it, some girl mad and your motherfucking so-called friends." Yo, like, and like I said before, like a line like that would never fly by today and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It would never fly by today. And even to this day, we don't know what really happened to Choice and stuff like that. But she was very ahead of her time. Yeah, I heard some of her stuff. She was very ahead of her time and stuff like that when it came to like that filthy female rap and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was Little Hooker. Very, very underrated diss track right there. Track number 13, Yo P My D. I don't need to explain to you guys what that means, but this track right here is pretty much. I want to bring Ice Cube again. It's pretty much his version of "It's a Man's World," in my opinion, and stuff like that. But it's more vulgar and shit. So that's the best way to put it. Very, very dope track. Very another underrated track right here. And then you have like backstage, the backstage interlude and stuff like that. Just an interlude. Track number 15. What's up, nigga? Pretty cool track. You know, pretty cool track and shit like that. Kind of like a Bragado show. And the last track, My Alibi. All my Gangstar fans should recognize that sample and shit like that because they used that sometime like around the early 90s and shit. So yeah, that was like a storytelling track. It was I wouldn't have ended the album on that track in my personal opinion, but it is what it is. And that's all the tracks off this album. Overall, this album, in my opinion, is his best solo album in my opinion. But there are a few stuff I gotta talk about, but I want to talk about the good first. I felt like Willie D was just more angrier than usual. You know, like I said, this was around the time when he got kicked out of Ghetto Boy, so you could feel his anger and shit like that. And pretty much what I liked about this album was just like some of the production was just so filthy, so funky. Besides Church Coast and Gangsta has that, I loved almost every beat off this album. My only gripe I would say that some of the sequencing was a little out of reach and stuff like that. I would also say like I would definitely also say some songs I can admit get a bit too repetitive and shit like that, but it's still a pretty good album. I pretty highly recommend it and stuff like that. You know, Willie D, in my opinion, does not really get the props he deserves a lot and stuff like that. I just always felt like he was definitely like a forerunner and stuff like that. You know, the gangster of love and shit like that. So yeah, this is a very, very, very dope album. This album is actually out of print. The last known reissue was when it was reissued in 1995, and it's been out of print since then. But you should not find this album too expensive because I got this album for like $5 on Amazon and shit like that. So I consider this to be like his best solo album and stuff like that. I'm definitely gonna do a review on Controversy one day and stuff like that. So stay tuned on that. And as usual, it's your boy Reg in the building. Hope y'all have a good night. Peace.